There's been a lot of talk about Samsung's hot new Galaxy S25 Edge, but there's something not quite right about it. It's indicative of a meta and a market that we're currently in, and to tell the whole story, we need to go back a few years. Believe it or not, when curved screens first came out, it was a huge deal, and Samsung wanted to really showcase what a flexible OLED panel could really do in late 2014. So alongside the Galaxy Note 4, a tremendous phone in its own right, the company would sell this, the Note 4 based Galaxy Note Edge. This thing had a serious wow factor. That waterfall display on the right hand side was a conversation starter to say the very least. The 160 pixel wide strip displayed additional tools, app shortcuts, and would debut Samsung's Edge panels, a feature that you can still find on the most modern Samsung Galaxy smartphones. It was born out of utility, but also a way to really show off Samsung's exciting new hardware. It's fascinating to see such a forward-thinking device with a curved OLED panel also having a headphone port, a removable back, a removable battery, and since there was no room for it on the side, Samsung opted to stick the lock button up top, which certainly makes for an interesting ergonomic experience. As you'd probably expect from a Galaxy Note, it does come with the S Pen, which was an already pretty fantastic feature by this point, having been bedded in for a couple of generations of Galaxy Note. And the Note Edge didn't feel majorly compromised. It felt well made, thoughtfully designed, and it was a pretty good smartphone all things considered outside of that obvious edge. It felt like a fancier, more limited edition version of the already very accomplished Galaxy Note 4. But the curve wasn't a one-off. Samsung kept the curve for a very long time, and the device that really changed the game was the Galaxy S6 Edge. This thing dropped less than a year later than the Note Edge, and it was simply spectacular. The double waterfall display in the glass and metal build felt like an unbelievable step up in quality from the Galaxy S5 that came before it. The bezels felt impossibly thin, and it was really easy to hold because it was, well, pretty much pointy at the edges of the display. The curves were generally liked, but the S6 Edge itself was a little underwhelming to say the least, due to dropping both its IP rating and microSD card expansion, features that would return a year later in the much better and personal favourite of mine, Galaxy S7 Edge. That phone optimised everything from the design to the performance to the battery life, all with that gorgeous design too. Moving forward to the S8 and the S9, this was when other companies started implementing the Edge-like feature on both sides of the display. Notable devices going forward from LG, Xiaomi and Google dropped with somewhat curved edges, and it had been a few years since the Edge's debut, and so the hype and the novelty sort of whittled down, and now curved display edges had become a little bit divisive. I guarantee you that someone in the comment section of this video will say, "I never liked the curved sides anyway, what an unnecessarily and unthoughtful inclusion," or something like that. Because aside from simply increasing the risk of smashing the display if you happen to be a bit of a klutz, Edge displays also have other issues. They can introduce distracting glare at the edges, they can make applying screen protectors an absolute nightmare. And there's also a frustrating UI clash where in some video games, notably the ones where you play in landscape and the higher end 3D titles, UI elements at the top and the corners of the displays can just be really hard to access to and sometimes impossible to activate. And then there's the big compromise of, well, maybe you just don't like to hold a phone that has a sharp edge like that. Edge displays in general just weren't fully living up to the hype at this point. So people started chirping up about their dissatisfaction, and in 2020, Apple brought back its fully flat front and back smartphone design. A properly flat front panel, no curves, not even tapers at the edges, and slowly but surely in the past 5 years, other companies have either toned down their display curves or have completely moved away from that design and instead offer flat sides and a flat front. Starting with the Galaxy S21 series from Samsung, slowly making phones feel less cutting edge and luxurious, and giving the public the boring, rounded rectangles that it seems to really want. And that brings us to the S25 Edge. This phone is somewhat controversial anyway. By the way, get subscribed and stay tuned for review content on this channel about that. But people are already asking what the real point of the S25 Edge is. It seems to be the general sentiment behind a lot of content coverage on this device. It doesn't seem to really do much beyond, well, it's S25 siblings, yet commands a serious amount of money. Being simply a thinner version of a cookie cutter design that we see from pretty much every company these days is not a massive draw, especially when you consider the compromises in thermal performance and battery life. As with less room inside the decidedly flat body, the physical size of the internal components has to be taken into account too, and a lot of these are taking a substantial hit. But more importantly, despite that device sharing its namesake with the mobile phone that introduced us to mobiles with curved edges, it lacks anything of the sort. Instead, the Edge name is being used to brand the cut-down flagship with a thinner and lighter chassis, things that sure were true of the Note 4 and the Note Edge, just about, but that wasn't the point of it, and it just seems a strange decision to dig up a past brand for something entirely unrelated. Perhaps this was to try and add some allure to what was actually more of a tarted up S25 Plus than a cut down S25 Ultra. For 4 figures, it's a pretty tough sell, and well, I guess Samsung probably needed all the help that it could get to try and make that thing sound enticing. A good phone in its own right, I'm sure, but nothing special, not like the Note Edge was. At this point, it seems we have completed the loop. We have come full circle, not only with smartphone displays, but TVs as well. When was the last time you saw a curved TV? There has been a big drop off in this kind of technology. Perhaps with time we'll return to it as a future design. I mean, fads and trends seem to happen all the time, so it wouldn't surprise me if that happened. And you know what, I can totally understand the desire for a more functional, flatter display. There is no denying that it is more practical, but there's a lot less intrigue and future feeling about them. I'm certainly going to miss the era of devices that truly looked like they came from another world. The Galaxy S9, the LG V30, the Pixel 6 Pro, the OnePlus 7 Pro, and devices alike that call back to that once exciting new feature Samsung debuted with its Galaxy Note Edge, a phone truly deserving of its tempting moniker. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you care at all about edge displays? Are you with the majority? Do you just generally prefer the flat designs that we have these days? Or are you sort of like me and sad that they were left behind because they just make the phone feel far more luxurious? Personally, I rock a OnePlus 12, which has curved sides, and my favorite designed Pixels were probably the Pixel 6 Pro and 7 Pro, which had curved sides as well. Not to mention the OnePlus 7 Pro, but that could be its whole separate video. Thank you so much for watching. Please do let me know what you think in the comments. Whilst you're down there, hit like if you enjoyed today's content, and hit subscribe to never miss another upload. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I will catch you later. Cheers.